When it comes to video games, replay value is incredibly important, as by offering players a chance to run the gambit again with a new weapon, skill, or entirely different enemy layouts, you're basically guaranteeing that you'll keep them hooked for hours and hours. Dark Souls, for example, runs entirely on this philosophy, keeping certain items exclusively for second playthroughs and ensuring that anyone looking to 100% this game would have to kindle a lot of bonfires across their time. And some games take this even further by hiding secret endings that require insane amounts of patience, skill, and endurance to unlock. Case in point, these 10 video games that all force players to jump through a spectacularly convoluted and downright unreasonable number of hoops before rewarding them with jokey, definitive, or utterly mad conclusions. So let's not waste any more time and find out how it's all going to end, my friends. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 secret video game endings that took incredible effort to unlock. Number 10. The Complete Nightfall Protocol. Batman Arkham Knight. Though both endings of Arkham Knight see Batman faking his and Alfred's deaths, the complete ending reveals an extended epilogue where new Mayor Jim Gordon is heading to the wedding of his daughter Barbara and Tim Drake. Meanwhile, a couple resembling Bruce Wayne's parents are mugged in an alleyway before a shadowy figure resembling Batman attacks the assailants. It's a neat tag which lends additional context to the game's ending, but unlocking it is quite the Herculean task indeed. Players can only access this complete ending after working through all of the most wanted side missions, which obviously includes collecting all 243 Riddler trophies. My god, that alone is a massively overwhelming task that is hardly worth an extra 2-minute cutscene. It's therefore little surprise that videos of the ending online hit huge numbers because most players didn't want to spend that long pissing about in the goddamn Batmobile. Number 9. Swimsuit SAMUS. METROID. The original METROID is notable not just for its brilliant gameplay, but also its excellent twist ending, where it's revealed that galactic bounty hunter Samus Aran is really a woman. But Nintendo actually included a number of different endings that put their own spin on this depending on how long it took the player to beat the game. The quicker the ending, the more of Samus was revealed to the player, and those mighty or thirsty enough to beat the game in less than an hour would get to see Samus kitted out in nothing more than a skimpy swimsuit. Ooh la la. However, under an hour is utterly mad, all things considered, seeing as beating the game without time constraints is pretty difficult. The lengths that some people will go to for a bit of pixelated skin is beyond me, says the man who owns all of the bikini DLC for Valkyrie Chronicles 4. Just saying. Number 8. Nuclear Disarmament. Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. Though it's well documented at this point that Metal Gear Solid 5 was released incomplete with its planned third chapter effectively being scrapped, Hideo Kojima did however include an additional ending sequence with intensely strict unlock conditions. Several months after the game's release, Konami confirmed a nuclear disarmament event, whereby a secret ending could be unlocked if every single player in a player's given region dismantled all of the nuclear weapons in their own forward operating base. Though the ending in which Big Boss and company celebrate the deproliferation of nukes worldwide was ultimately leaked by data miners, unlocking it the hard way proved virtually impossible due to those pesky trolls who simply didn't want to give other fans what they desired. To date, the ending has never in fact been triggered correctly on any platform, though in early 2018 it was accidentally launched due to a technical error which caused the game's servers to read the nuke count as 0, but this was soon patched and the Cold War was back on, baby. Number 7. The True Ending. BLOODBORNE. From Software games, as I briefly detailed in the opening, are challenging enough without having to consider alternate endings, and unlocking BLOODBORNE's third and air quotes true ending requires an even greater heft of effort. Though the first 2 endings are unlocked easily enough, either by submitting to the final boss German or refusing him, the best ending requires the player to obtain 3 1/3 of umbilical cord items achieved by undertaking a rather tricky trio of fetch quests. Thus, before meeting German, you have to consume the 3 items and then select Refuse, which triggers the final boss fight against German. Afterwards, you'll see a new cutscene where an extra final boss will be revealed, the Moon Presence, which is mercifully one of the easiest boss fights in the entire game, which is then followed by an extended ending cutscene. Again, I'm glad that this was an easy fight, because just imagine doing all of that just to get popped by this ugly fella. That would be no bueno, brother. Number 6. Moira Lives, Resident Evil Revelations 2. This one isn't so much difficult mechanically as it is downright annoying, given that Capcom clearly included it to simply imbue the game with some half-assed added replay value. The vast majority of players will unlock the bad ending of this game on their first playthrough of Resident Evil Revelations 2, all due to the choice that they make in the third episode, Judgment. Now, during a boss fight against Neil, Claire Redfield ends up getting trapped by him, initiating a QTE sequence. If the player completes the QTE as Claire rather than switching to her partner Moira Burton, this will activate the downer ending where Moira is killed and the heroes ultimately lose. The sour finale likely encouraged hardcore fans to play through the campaign again and switch to Moira during the Neil fight, which instead leads to Moira killing Neil and surviving the game with Claire and her father Barry in tow. Also, side note, this ending is actually really quite negative when you consider that Moira didn't even want to use guns again and was forced to do so. Capcom, what are you playing at? Number 5. The dog ending, Silent Hill 2. The Silent Hill games have always been fond of their notoriously bizarre gag endings, and none has proved more enduring than the Silent Hill 2 dog ending, where it's revealed that an adorable Shiba Inu canine was behind the events of the game after all, because why not? At this stage, my brain's already leaking out of my ear, why not? Attaining the ending first requires the player to unlock the game's 3 normal endings, or obtain the rebirth ending on your second playthrough. Afterwards, players need to load a new game off of the save file and locate the doghouse in Rosewater Park, which will contain a key. After then entering the Nightmare Lakeview Hotel and viewing a videotape in room 213, the key can be used to enter the observation room on the 3rd floor where the dog is waiting to greet you. As delightfully demented as the ending is, you'll be hard pressed to discover it by yourself, and it's a lot of jumping through hoops for what is effectively a dumb joke. Still though, aww, how cute. Number 4. Mona Sachs Survives, Max Payne 2 The Fall of Max Payne. Max Payne 2 The Fall of Max Payne is a ludicrously entertaining action extravaganza of a sequel, and one which tragically concludes with the death of Max's lover Mona Sachs, or at least that is on the game's normal difficulty. Players willing to invest the time, effort, and oh god, a lot of frustration were actually able to unlock an alternate ending where Mona survives her wounds, giving Max the happy ending that he most certainly deserved. Vicar indeed. Unlocking the ending requires players to beat the game on the highest difficulty dead on arrival, which in addition to featuring brutally punishing enemies also limits players to a strict number of saves per chapter. Given how players can usually just save scum their way through most of the game's tougher encounters on lower difficulties, this ensured that only the hardiest of fans would ever see it through, but the changes to the ending are so minimal in terms of their presentation, you might be wise to leave this well enough alone. Number 3. The A ending, Valkyrie Profile. Cult classic RPG Valkyrie Profile is infamous for the flat-out unreasonable requirements for the player to discover its true A-rank ending, such that there's virtually zero chance that you'll figure it out without a guide. To cut a long story short, you need to satisfy a migraine-inducingly specific series of requirements throughout the game, namely lowering Leonard's seal value to 37 or less by the time you reach Chapter 7. And if you don't know what this is, then that's fine. All you need to understand is that this is very hard to do, and one mistake can wipe out hours of progress. Plus, given that ending A is really the game's only truly satisfying ending, with more of a fleshed out explanation of Lenneth's origins, it's pretty infuriating how much is asked of the player to get it done. Boo, the crowd hates that, boo. Number 2, the 100% ending, Final Fantasy X-2. Final Fantasy X-2 has several different endings, and unlocking the perfect one requires the player to achieve a 100% completion rating. I mean, fair enough, it's the clues in the name after all. However, much like Valkyrie Profile, this is nigh on impossible to achieve without using a guide, and a simple mistake will ruin your entire run. Every chapter in the game has a laundry list of quasi-random activities and interactions for the player to check off, and unless you're paying close attention to the list of requirements, you can accidentally steer yourself wrong with ease, because of course there are some areas that you can't return to, meaning that you will grind your teeth to absolute stumps should you accidentally walk to a location-shifting cutscene. Not that that's happened to me. Twice. Players who slog their way through to the end will get to see an extended reunion between Yuna and Tidus, but unless you're really in love with the game and its characters, your time is almost definitely better spent doing literally anything else. And number 1, Ending E, Drakengard. But perhaps no secret ending in the history of video games takes quite as much piss out of the player as Drakengard's infamous E ending. For starters, you need to have obtained the game's first 4 endings, which range from simply beating the game to completing all of the side missions and sub-chapters, and then you need to collect all 65 of the game's weapons. Yup. Doing so will unlock Chapter 13, leading to an insane, hallucinogenic rhythm game final boss battle that really has to be seen to be believed, and ends with the player being shot down by some fighter jets. It's absolutely mad. Given that all the weapons that you just hoovered up are of no consequence to how this ending plays up, it's clearly just another case of director Yoko Taro deconstructing the very nature of video games themselves, and thoroughly trolling fans in the process. And you know what? While I want to hate it for making players waste time, it is also utterly brilliant, so I do recommend checking it out. And there we go, those were 10 secret video game endings that took incredible effort to unlock. I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as any other entries you would have added, because I might return to do this and do a commenter's edition further down the line. But before I go, I just want to say one thing pretty quickly. We detailed today about endings that took a lot of effort to unlock, and you know what? Let's try and apply that to our real lives, because sometimes the best things in life take considerable amount of time and effort to come to fruition. And that's the thing, so you don't want to burn out. You need to take a break every once in a while and be kind to yourself physically and mentally. So if you're struggling with things, then remember you can speak to people, friends, family, professionals in the support industry. All of us care about you and want you to do well at whatever goal you're trying to achieve. So do yourself a favour, take the foot off the gas and enjoy the scenery a little bit more. As always, I've been Jules. You have indeed been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.